All right. Well, welcome back to another episode of Be About It podcast. Of course, I am your host, Baraka Barnes, and I am so stinking excited about my episode today. You know, the person I have on this episode today is someone who is very, very dear and special to me. But before the titles and before the success, we came from the same beginning. This is how similar roots can lead to very different paths and what that reveals. Today's episode is very special to me because my guest is a registered nurse, a mother, a wife, a serial entrepreneur, a podcast host, and metabolic health counselor and educator. But before any of that, she is my sister. So this conversation starts with where we come from and then where life took us. Welcome to Be About It podcast, Charyse Williams.
Hey, I'm so excited to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me. I feel honored to be on my big brother's podcast. So
Watch out
thank
now.
you. I love it, and I'm excited to have this conversation. I know we didn't really prep too much for this, so it'll be really interesting what all comes out. And because I don't even know that we've talked a whole lot about, what is it? One something? Tell me the title again.
One source, two tributaries.
There you go.
Okay.
One source, two tributaries. I don't even know that we've actually had this depth of conversation, so it's going to be fun. I'm excited about it.
It's going to be fun, and I finally came up with, that's the title. I think I'm going to title that'll be our title for the thumbnail. But for the actual episode, I think I'm going to title it How Roots, Faith, and Family Kept Us Connected.
Well, I love that.
Okay.
Roots, faith, and family.
Yeah.
I love it. Speaking my language, brother. That's good
All right,
stuff.
so let's get into it.
Yeah.
I want people, of course, your audience, of course, already knows who you are, where you've come from. You're being introduced to the Be About It community and Be Trained community. And so I want to bring your identity to them and help them realize who you are and where you come from. So what's one thing about our childhood that people wouldn't expect?
What's one thing about our childhood that people wouldn't expect?
Mm-hmm. Got you on the first question.
Oh, golly. I thought this was going to be easy. One thing about our childhood that people wouldn't expect.
Yeah, anything.
Well, you know what? It was me and you for 10 years. It was literally two of us. So we have a younger brother.
Uh-huh.
And he's 10
Shout
years.
out to Malcolm.
Shout out to Malcolm.
By the way, I will have him on the show eventually. I just haven't done that yet, but I will be reaching out to him too because he is another very successful young man that I want to have on the show. So anyway, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no worries. So he's 10 years younger than me. I guess, 13 years younger than you, and that was my baby. But for 10 years of my life, I had one brother. And I just remember we always did everything together. I mean, of course we did everything together. There was only two of us.
Right.
But
right.
You were like my only buddy, my live-in buddy. I'll say like that. I mean, I had friends, you had friends.
Yeah.
But in terms of, like I said, it was just you and I for 10 years. And and I don't know how you felt about me tagging along with your friends, but I do remember that, where we lived for a large percentage of our childhood, like I was the only girl in the block. Right. There was Sid, but she was much younger, so she couldn't really play with us. And so the rest of were boys. It was you, it was Mike, it was Derek, it was, and then it was me. And I was such a tomboy anyway. I don't know if I had a choice in being a tomboy because I was around boys all the time. And it's really funny that God blessed me with two boys, which was perfect because I can't even imagine, raising girls. But yeah, it was you and I feel like I was always with you, at least for those first 10 years.
Yeah.
When you went riding on your bike, I went riding on the bike too. I was on the back or I was on the handlebars. Or
Yeah. Those were the days.
Yeah. And so how did you feel about that? Did you ever feel like, oh my God, my sister's coming with me? Or do you remember having any of those thoughts?
No, I didn't have any thoughts like that. In fact, one of the comments I remember Mom making when we were younger was, "Girl, why don't you get out of his face?"
Yeah. Actually, she used to always say, "Get your butt out of his face." I don't know why I would put my butt in your face. I don't know.
Obviously, I don't think you did. It wasn't anything you were aware of. It was
I
just
wasn't.
something that, you know what I'm saying? So I just think it was something we ended up doing as kids. Just always being in each other's face.
Yeah.
But and of course we had that. Remember the floor model television, that big old TV. So we didn't have any chairs to sit on. We were always lying on the floor, watching TV.
Exactly. And I feel like I remember lying on you or sitting on, like you would be on the floor, on your stomach, and I remember sitting on your back watching TV. Do you remember that?
Brother,
you were my chair.
excuse me. Pardon the interruption. really hope that you're enjoying this episode, and I'm sure you are. But I have a quick question. Did you know I have a podcast? Well, that's right. You're watching it right now. So I just wanted to quickly ask that you would please like the video, share it, and if you're watching it on YouTube, please subscribe. I appreciate you. Now, back to the episode. I'm telling you. Yes, exactly. But no, those were the good days, and those just take us back. And in fact, it's really nice to sit down and have this conversation so that we can recall those memories, because I hadn't thought about those things in a long, long time. You know?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's so. You would say then that we were very close growing up.
I mean, I
Something that
thought
we,
so.
yeah, exactly. I believe so. But remember, the question is, what was something that they wouldn't expect? Well, they wouldn't expect that we were so close, because this is our first time. This is like Michael Jackson and and Janet Jackson. The first time you've seen us together in forever. You know what I mean?
Right, right. And I think different siblings have different relationships, right? In different households. And I've heard so many stories just over the years, of siblings not getting along and they're fighting. And I don't ever remember fighting.
Right.
Like,
No,
we didn't have
I
that
don't either.
kind of relationship. We were always cool and happy go lucky, and
Always cool.
yeah, we never
Yeah.
fought.
Yep. So in that same vein, I know that I had the privilege of meeting Dr. Donald Morton because of you about a year ago, and I interviewed him. He was on my show last week, and that interview was just uploaded this past Friday. But he and I had a conversation about a conversation that you two had.
Okay.
And he said that he wasn't aware, first of all, that, well, he knew that you were my sister, but he didn't realize that that we had a younger brother. And he said you had compared the two of us and said we are so different.
Yeah.
And so my question to you is, because of that conversation, how would you describe me growing up?
Goodness. Okay. How would I describe you growing up?
Mm.
To me, you were always just laid back, fun, go with the flow. Like I said, we never fought. We always, it was just go with the flow kind of thing. Those are the first things that just come to mind. Laid back, just cool, calm.
Always have been there.
Right. Yes. Now, I do remember, I remember a little story.
What are you talking
I
about?
don't even know if I want to share this, but anyway, I'll share it. No, it's actually good. So I would say you were more the reserved one, whereas I was the opposite. And I remember, you might remember this, when we used to live on, where we lived the majority of the time, where Mike and the cul-de-sac, where Mike and Derek and all that were. Yeah. I can't think of the name of the street, but it was our cousins would come to stay with us for the summer. Lita and Carmela, and for a long period of time, our backyard opened up to a big field, and there were no buildings behind it. Now, after many, many years, there's a building ended up being erected, actually a whole strip center. Yeah. But before that, the backyard was open to a big field. And then on the far left side of the field, there was a convenience store. And so one night, we were kids, it was in the summer. I don't even know how, we were under 13 because we moved when I was 13. So we were probably 10, 11, 12 maybe. Anyway, so me and Alita decided that we were going to go to the store, unbeknownst to anybody else. Like my mom and dad didn't know about it. And we were going to go to the store. So we were trying to get you to go, and because you and Alita were the oldest, and it was me and Carmela, which were younger. You were like, "Oh, no, I am not going out there." And you were like, "We're not supposed to be outside after dark."
I know why I said that.
Yeah. You're like, "We're not supposed to be outside after dark." And I was like, "Come on, Rob, let's just go." And so you weren't going. You were not going. But here's the funny part that I thought this was hilarious. So we were all kind of strategizing on what we were going to get. I was going to get Doritos. That was my favorite. We were going to get candy and this and that. And so we already had a plan on what we were going to go buy. So as we're leaving out the window, by the way, because the back of the house, because the back of the house was, led to the field. So we were just going to hop out and go around the corner to the store and come on back. Our little kids. Then you said, so we were like, okay, after we tried to convince you to go and you wouldn't go because you were not going to go. And you had the audacity to say, "Y'all give me a Snickers."
No.
Because that was his favorite candy. I don't know if it still is. That's still your favorite candy.
I still love me a Snicker bar.
Oh my God. So he had the audacity to say, "Well, I'm not going to go, but since y'all are going, get me a Snickers." I was like, "I'm not getting you anything." I think I got your Snickers anyway, because I didn't want you to be left out. But I just thought that was I'm like, the audacity. He still wants me to get him something. He's not willing to come. But anyway.
That is hilarious. I vaguely remember that because yeah, Alita, you and Alita. Well, Alita was the she was the group leader,
She was.
but
She
she
was.
was too funny.
Yeah,
I
it was
love
you
it.
and
Shout out to
Carmela that
Alita.
were. Yeah, I was gonna. It was you and Carmela that were always like the more reserved ones, and me and Alita was like, "Let's do it. Whatever it is, let's do
Yeah,
it." And
yeah,
not to get into much, we weren't trying to get into much trouble, but we would push the edge, push the boundaries. That's for
but
sure.
yes,
As
yes.
that, I think
Well,
that's
again,
another characteristic of both of us. I think I was always the one that maybe pushed the boundaries. You were the one that was always, "Oh, we're not. No, I'm not going to do that."
exactly. And you know what? I think that too is what led to the paths that we chose and how we chose those paths.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we're going to kind of get into that a little bit later on in this interview. But so you just brought up some things to me that I didn't even remember. So again, our childhood to me is pretty much a blur. What did we have in common back then? What can you recall that we might have had in common as children?
Well, we loved watching cartoons together.
Okay.
Well, okay. I think we loved being with each other, or maybe I just loved being with you because I had my own bedroom and you had your own bedroom, but you had twin beds, and I had like a queen, I think, or full, probably full. But even though I had my own bedroom and a full size bed, I always wanted to be with you because I'd always want to be with you in your room. So I, I slept in your room a lot because I wanted to be. I guess that directly answers the question, but what do we have in common? So we like to jump on the bed. Do you
Oh
remember?
boy, did we.
Oh
Oh,
my
I
gosh.
remember Rick James. We used to jam
Yes,
out to
we
Rick
did.
James,
You had
the
yeah, was it
record player.
record player? Yes, you had a record player. We had Rick James to listen to. We listened to New Edition, their very first album. There
Hmm.
was a Stevie Wonder. I think it was Mommy's clearly, but somehow it ended up in your room, and we listened to that. But yeah, we listened to Rick James.
New Edition, I know was your favorite group growing up. Do you remember us going to the concert?
Dude, Astroworld. Yes, that was my
That
first
was
concert.
our first concert. That's right.
Yeah, that was so much
And
fun.
Dad took us.
I know it was you, me, and Daddy. Yep, which is odd. I mean,
I
now that I think
know,
about it, but
I
yep,
know.
yeah,
That was a great time. I do remember that. I do remember having a great time at that concert, and yeah, that was fun. So
that was
we
fun.
have that in common. Music, we like love. We grew up in the same genre, same era, so we have the same
Yeah,
appreciation for that genre of music.
yeah, and also
So
bikes. You loved bikes, and I think because you love bikes so much, I just like bikes as well. And I remember, I don't know if you remember this, but do you remember how much you loved bikes?
yeah, yeah,
And
I
you
was
would
gonna
work
start a
on
bike
your
shop back in the day.
you were I know. Well, I think you kind of did in the garage. You would always be tinkering with your bike. I remember being
There you
upside
go.
down and you were working
Yep,
on the chains and all that.
yep,
But
always.
and I remember again going back to being a tomboy and being the only girl on the cul-de-sac. You
Hmm.
would have like a BMX. You would get a BMX for Christmas, and I don't know, I don't know if you remember this, but I asked for a bike for Christmas, and they bought me a strawberry shortcake bike, and I wanted a mongoose or a BMX,
Yeah, yeah,
and I was not a happy camper.
yeah.
And so, do you remember what I did?
No, what?
Oh my gosh! So again, I'm trying to figure out how can I get a mongoose or a BMX or something like yours. So I was. What'd you have?
I had a Diamondback. Mike
That's
had the mom.
right. You had a and I
Yeah.
wanted one too, doggone it. And
Uh-huh.
they got me a strawberry shortcake bike with the banana seat and the pink streamers coming out of the handlebars. I was
Yes, yes.
not a happy camper at
Right.
all. And so what I did was I put my bike behind. Daddy had a truck at the time. I put my bike behind Daddy's truck and I slid it under so he wouldn't see it when he came out in hopes that he would run over it, which he did. He did. He ran over my strawberry shortcake bike, and guess what? He didn't. I didn't get a bike. I didn't get a new bike
You
to
didn't get
replace it.
another bike.
See,
You didn't
I
replace.
didn't think that through. I'm thinking
Right.
if this bike gets destroyed, they will have another opportunity to get me the bike
To
that I
get you
wanted.
another one.
But no, in good parenting, they're like, if you can't keep up with this bike, you're not getting another bike.
You're
I
not
didn't know.
getting another
I
one.
didn't know that at the time.
Right,
So
right.
instead, and then I had the audacity to cry because I
And
know,
you hit it. You
and
planted it.
I'm the one who planted the bike to get destroyed.
Right.
Anyway,
Wow.
yeah,
Oh my goodness. So look, I
I
like
told
to
you
I
I wanted
like
to
to
be like you. I wanted to be.
you did. You sure did. And I do remember that now. And it was I want to say it was a blue Ford pickup truck or something like
I
that.
think it
80s.
was, yeah.
Yeah, 80s pickup. I forgot about that pickup until you
Mm-hmm.
brought that up. I remember having that big old green Oldsmobile Delta 88. I remember that big
I
old
remember
diesel.
that. I remember
That big
that.
diesel. Oh my goodness.
Yep, I
Anyway,
remember I remember the Jaguar. I remember
yes,
the Mercury. What was it? A Cougar.
the Cougar.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I think we had a cell. Did we have a cell phone or like one of those big block
Yeah,
phones in
with a
that?
cell phone in it.
Yeah,
That was,
big
yeah.
old block phone. Yeah,
Yep.
but anyway, we had, I don't know why we had so many cars. We didn't have all those at the same time. I'm just thinking of all the
No,
cars we had
over
over the
time.
years.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And the
yeah.
Shapiro with the stick shift. That's what I learned how to drive.
I don't even
The,
remember that.
the silver car. Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
remember that. Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, I see us. I described us as having grown up in a lower middle class, socioeconomic
You
class. I
think it was
guess it
lower?
is.
I thought it was like kind
I
of
say lower middle, more lower
lower
middle
middle.
income.
Yeah, I'm thinking middle, but okay. Whatever.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
I think yes, I say middle, but I don't know that we were like middle or higher middle. I think we were lower middle because I
Right.
remember
I
some
think we're
things.
right in the middle, but it's
Okay.
it's
All right.
irrelevant. I mean,
Neither here
honestly.
nor there. Exactly. So whichever.
I don't remember ever wanting for anything that I didn't get except for that bike, but that was on me. I don't
Yeah.
think it was due to finances. I think I was being taught a lesson, like take care of your stuff.
I can remember a couple of times the lights getting turned off and eating a whole bunch of beans and stuff. But
You do?
anyway, I do remember that. Yes. But
I don't.
anyhow,
It's so funny, just different, whatever. I don't remember that at all. Huh.
yeah, yeah. So with that in mind, what would you say that we learned about health or life or success growing up?
Health. We'll start there. So you said
Okay.
health, life, and success. Okay. So health, I remember mommy would always go walking or jogging. I also remember daddy going jogging as well. Maybe that was a little bit later. But I also remember, daddy was always very, because he was in the military, so he had to stay fit.
He was an avid runner. Yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah. And I remember mommy, I would go sometimes. I don't know if you went or not. I can't remember if you were there,
Oh, there no.
but she used to go to a spa, a gym that had like a
Yeah, I remember
jacuzzi.
that. Yes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I think health was always part of it in terms of physical health. Now, in terms of like what we ate, I remember we used to always have salads with our main, entree. We'd always have a salad. And it wasn't packed with a whole bunch of stuff, but I just remember, probably some iceberg lettuce. So I think, definitely mommy made an effort to make sure that, we were eating healthy and everything. So that's health. That's on the health side. Life. What did I learn about life? I think, again, I always thought life was pretty simple, easy. I don't remember ever wanting anything that I didn't have or didn't get.
Yeah. Good. That's good.
Yeah, I do remember. So you mentioned serial entrepreneur when you were talking about the intro. I do remember I never liked to ask for money. And so I remember very early, because I think in my mind it was like I don't know, I didn't want to feel like it was a burden, or not that either one of them ever said anything, I guess overtly that said, oh, you can't have any money. I just never liked to ask. And so I just remember from a very early age that I would make cookies and I would put them in little baggies and I would put like a little ribbon on them and I would give them to daddy to go sell them. And I don't even know if he sold them or if he just bought them himself. But I just know that I made all these cookies, and I did this so many times on Popular and even when we moved to Sage Glen. But I would, make the cookies, a whole bunch of cookies, put them in baggies, and I said, "Can you take these to work and sell them?" And he said yes. And the next day he came back and I had money. I'm like, "Whoa,
Yeah.
this entrepreneur thing works." Now, of course, I wasn't
Good.
thinking
Well,
entrepreneur at the time. Yeah, I didn't know that term,
Right.
but I knew,
Right.
okay, if I create something that people want, and I mean, like I said, I have no idea if he bought the cookies himself and gave them away, or if he actually
I don't
sold
even
them.
think that part
Didn't even
matters.
matter.
But
Didn't
you
even matter.
saw something.
Yeah.
Yeah, something. A seed was planted at that point.
Yeah, yeah. That
Okay.
I could make money whenever I
Create
chose to.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could create something. You could give it away or have somebody sell it for you and make money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I
Awesome.
did that very early on. I want to say I was maybe 10 or so. And then I remember again at 13. I remember I did it off and on from, I have
Okay.
to say, the
Okay.
age of 10.
Okay.
Yeah.
So staying right there where that memory is for you, as you can see that maybe was a core. It is a core memory and maybe a seed that was sown to help shape where you eventually came or went. What do you think shaped us the most in those early days?
What shaped us the most?
Hmm.
As it relates to what specifically?
I would say just as we began to emerge from our youth into our young adulthood, or
Mm-hmm.
let's say adolescence, what began to shape you because I know this one thing that you mentioned as becoming entrepreneur minded, I kind of planted that seed, but what are some other things that you might think of that kind of shaped you as you began to progress into adolescence? So then let's just say at that time when you said you were 9, 10, 11, whatever age that was, that seed was planted and you began to, at least at that point, develop even though you didn't know exactly what it was,
Mm-hmm.
you started to develop a mindset, like I said, around you can produce something, and in exchange for the producing of something, you can make money from doing that. Were there any other things that you might have created back then besides cookies? Did you do anything else? Did you do anything else? Did you sell anything? Did you?
I think so. I think cookies and brownies. Cookies and brownies. I remember
Okay.
that
You
specifically. I
started.
don't. Yeah, go ahead.
Abby started doing that. Abiel, my baby girl,
Good
she
for her.
just recently started. She's now producing or baking. She loves baking. She's producing cookies and brownies as well and selling them at school. So
There you
she's got,
go.
yeah. So she's taking after you.
She'll never.
Yeah,
She'll never be in a lack for money because you can
exactly,
always create anything. And as long as there's a
exactly.
need, as long as there is a desire for it, then hey, you create it, and there's somebody will purchase it.
And you know very much about that, and I'm going to talk about that a little bit later too. So we're siblings. We had different cores, right? And we
Mm-hmm.
had different social circles. When do you think that life started to look different for you?
Probably around, when did life start to look different? Maybe perhaps when mommy and daddy were divorcing or about to, yeah, they're in the process of, and I knew that, okay, well, don't have two parents. No, either one of them disappear, but I didn't have two parents under the same roof. But during that time, I was probably what 18, so I was already on my trajectory. I knew I wanted to be a nurse. I'd already
Yeah.
enrolled in
Okay.
nursing school, all that. But I
Okay.
think probably around that time, I was like, okay, well, it looks like I'm kind of on my own because
Wow.
mommy had moved away.
In Kansas.
I shouldn't say she moved away. She did, but she did. She went to Kansas to take care of her dad,
You ever dad, right?
and right, and then she just decided not to. I mean, that was, again, I can't blame her. They were already kind of considering
Hmm.
divorce anyway,
Right.
so it was just probably a good time. So I get that,
Hmm.
and then again, I guess we didn't need the house anymore because who lived there? Like, you were away at college. I think you were at PV, right? Yeah, so you were at PV. I was about to go to school, or maybe I was already in school in college, and so I just remember that being like, oh, okay, well, looks like I'm adulting now.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
was, and it wasn't traumatic. It was actually kind of, I don't remember it being a traumatic experience. I remember it being like a very liberating experience. Like, wow, I'm an adult. And
Yeah.
I guess I really didn't think that I would be a air quote adult until later. But
Hmm.
I was like, oh my gosh, I'm actually an adult. This is kind of cool.
Man, you know what? That's interesting because I think for me it was a little bit different. Like you said, I was in college. I was at PV. I was a freshman or a sophomore, and I think it was in between my freshman and sophomore years. And when they divorced, and I had pledged, and I was
Oh,
working. I was working at Compaq up there
mm,
in near the campus,
mm-hmm.
and so I had a lot going on, man. And for me at that time, before I became a remand man, shout out to Donald again, I didn't realize I was able to actually integrate all these different things into my life. And so, what I mean by integrate these things, I mean being a student, being a young man who is now facing the divorcing of his parents, having a job, being a pledge. I didn't know I hate to use the word balance, but balance all of those things at one time.
Mm-hmm.
And so I ended up leaving school because, my focus shifted to, hey, I got this job, I'm making some money and I'm doing good.
Mm.
So peace, you
Interesting. I
know.
never knew that.
Yeah. So, with all those things going on, I just decided I actually ended up going on academic probation too. So I had to leave school. But that's why, because I had all those things going on. And so that's when things really started to look different for me. And I ended up having to, you said adulting. I had to become an adult
Yeah.
at 2021. And I had no idea what I was doing. We didn't being taught how to pay bills, being taught how to balance your budget, or being taught how to budget, being taught how to. I never learned those things, and so now I'm on the fly. You know,
Yeah. And I
you
think
know,
I'm sure I was too. I never
yeah,
really thought about it. I figured, I think this is one thing that I've always known about me.
yeah,
And I don't know when I came to this realization, but I always knew and understood that I was like a quicker picker upper. Like, I was going to, whatever it was, I was going to pick it up quick, even if it wasn't taught. Right. So,
hmm
and of course, when you're a kid, which at that age, we're kids, 18, 19, that's still a kid. And, to your point where you're saying you were making good money, we blew money. I was still in nursing school, but I was working, I think, as a waitress at Red Lobster. So I was making great money in tips. Cookie, that's my husband, he was my then boyfriend. He had a scholarship. He was a D1 scholarship. And so he had money, for whatever. But we blew so much money because we didn't know how to save. We're kids with money, extra money, and I think another thing too, you said what shaped me is I remember thinking at that point in time, so we were still around 18, I was around 18-ish, 17, 18, which means you were probably 20, 21-ish, something like that.
Right.
I remember thinking, again, going back to the whole adulting thing, I remember thinking, well, I better, I didn't have room for error. I remember thinking, you better, what is it? Buckle down.
Yeah,
Not that I really wasn't, but I just remember thinking I didn't have any room for error. So it's interesting. Again, our two different perspectives. You were saying it was difficult for you to kind of balance all the things being a student, working and pledging and all that. And I just remember thinking, I better really stay focused because I can't go back home. Well, here's the thing. I lived at home. Actually, for a long time, it was just me at home. It was me and Cookie, actually. Because mommy was gone. Daddy was, he worked crazy hours, so he wasn't there half the time. So it was really me and Cook. And then, like I said, you were gone in college. So it was but I knew that wasn't going to last long. I knew we were, eventually going to sell the house because no one lived there really. So I just remember thinking, okay, buckle down, get, be very focused, get in, get out, meaning get in school, do what you need to do and get out of school. So
Okay. Wow. So from your perspective then, I think I think it's the environment, the things that were going on at that time, really, that, well, you kind of said it. I was going to ask you, what were you seeing and what were you realizing that maybe others weren't? But I think all of the things that were going on at that time really helped you realize.
I was going to say, not that I never, not that I really wasn't, but I think I took it even more seriously.
Okay.
Because I knew from an early age, I say early age, probably from the time I was 16, I knew I wanted to be a nurse. I knew I was going to be a nurse. There was never any question around that. I was clear at 16. And so, from 16, 17, I think I started college at 17. I was about to turn 18. And then that's when everything kind of started shifting, and so then I was like, oh, okay, that stuff just got real. Yeah. So although I was already on my trajectory, like the nursing path trajectory, it just kind of solidified, okay, like I said, do what you need to do. Don't be messing around. Again, not that I was, but I didn't feel like I had a room for error
And there was no backup plan.
There was no backup plan. Absolutely, there was no backup plan. It was like, this is it, girlfriend.
Right.
Yeah.
So you just answered my next question. So let me kind of put this a different way. I was going to say, did you always know that you wanted to go in this direction regarding nursing or entrepreneurship? So, but you said that you knew from the age of around 16. What is it that happened in your life, or what did you see? What kind of environment were you in that actually kind of steered you into that direction? What made you want to go into nursing?
Yeah. So I don't know if you remember, but grandma used to take care of, she wasn't a nurse, but she would always care for people. I don't know if you remember Miss Lillian. She was an older lady, and grandma was, well, at the time we thought she was old.
Betsy or Grandma Dora?
Dora.
No.
Grandma Dora. Yeah, when we would go down for the summers, her name was Lillian. Okay. From my recollection, she lived with grandma. And I just saw how grandma would take care of her and, make sure she was taking her medicine. I remember her brushing her hair, and she's let me brush her hair. And I just remember grandma caring for her.
Okay.
And I thought, oh, that's so nice. I want to care for people. Now, not that nursing is brushing hair.
Right.
But that's what that's kind of what I thought. And then I remember very vividly when I was in the 6th grade, my junior high was right across the street from a nursing home. One of I can't remember what class I was taking. One of the classes, it was a field trip. We walked across the parking lot for the field trip, and we went to the nursing home. And I think we went twice. I want to say we went twice. And I just remember those people in the nursing home, there was nobody around. They didn't have any friends, family or whatever. And I just remember how happy they were to see us. And I remember, painting someone's nails. And I remember pushing someone down from their bedroom down to the main, eating, the cafeteria, if you will, dining hall or whatever it was. And they were just so happy and so grateful and so appreciative. And I thought, man, this is so cool. Now, again, fast forward, I did none of that when I was a nurse. I was an ICU nurse. They were just happy to be breathing. I wasn't pushing nobody nowhere,
Right.
except for I was pushing them down. Well, anyway, maybe we were going for a CT scan or something. I would, take them down to a CT scan in a bed, not in a wheelchair, because again, my patients were critically ill and working in the ICU. But those two things solidified for me. So sixth grade, that was my first exposure. And I thought, oh, that's nice. And I feel like before that and even after that, I would see grandma like caring for people. And I just loved how that looked and how that felt. And I was like, I'm going to be a nurse. And actually, what really solidified it, this is fun, kind of weird, but funny.
I thought you were going to say on Pat.
No, but I'm sure that played a role too, because she was a nurse, right? And but what really solidified it for me was I was watching Menace to Society. Menace to Society.
Okay.
I know, that's why I said it's really weird. I was 16 and I remember the kid. Don't ask me the name of the kid. Whatever. He was running, Bobby or something. I don't know. Little kid was running. He was trying to jump over the fence. Someone shot him in the back or whatever. He ended up in the hospital. He had this nurse that took care of him and really nursed him back to health and was really just so kind and to him. And he was rough around the edges, but she just nursed him back to health and really poured into him. And I thought, okay, that was it. I was from like literally that. When I watched that movie, I'm like, I'm a nurse. Doggone it. That's what I'm going to do. Yeah.
How about that?
Yeah.
Wow. It's so true how the saying goes that women or females mature faster than males. I was at your age and I had I didn't know what I was doing. I had no clue. I was 21 years old running around doing what I don't know. I was working and trying to make money. I had a beeper for what? What did I have? Why did I have a beeper?
Oh, that's so funny. I remember you with the beeper and your Z Cavaricis or whatever. The crisscross pants. Was it crisscross colors?
Yeah.
Colors or whatever?
Cross colors.
Cross colors with your beeper. Who was beeping you, man?
Who was nobody? Nobody was beeping me. I was not a drug dealer.
That's hilarious. I don't even remember ever having your beeper number. That's because why would I beep you? I have no idea.
It was anyway, just a fad. That's all it was. Just trying to keep up with the Joneses.
Yeah, that is funny. But yep, I knew pretty early on. And like I said, 16, that solidified it.
That solidified it.
That was it. When I watched that movie, it was the dud. It was I was already kind of trending that way, but that movie, I'm like, there are no other considerations. That is what it is. Yeah.
Wow. Well, that's amazing. I think that when you are fortunate enough to have that epiphany at such a young age, early age, it makes the trajectory of your life so much easier because you put at that point you're able to put yourself on the path.
Mm-hmm.
You know what you want to do. You know how to go. And you know which direction to go into, you know, the questions to ask and so on and so forth. It's funny, ironic that I say that too, because I remember just a few years ago, I was having a conversation with the Lord and I was like, Lord, why didn't I ask this question? Or why didn't I do this? Or why didn't I do that? And I finally came to the understanding as the Lord showed me, he revealed to me what that question, what that saying, you don't know what you don't know means.
Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't even know what questions to ask because I didn't know what I didn't know. So how do you ask questions about something you don't even know?
You can't.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, I was lost, Charyse. I was lost.
But here's the thing. Were you lost or were you on your path? Everyone has different paths, right?
Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah, and you're right. Maybe it wasn't so much being lost as it is. I think there's a word for it. It's called meandering.
Mm-hmm. But maybe that was what you were created to do. Everyone doesn't come out of the starting gate.
My journey was different.
Yeah.
Yeah, my journey was
it's
different.
Perfectly your journey.
It's just a little frustrating.
Well, I'm gonna interject. I gotta interject because this is what I know. If it was meant to be any other way, it would have been.
You're right. You're right.
So that was your journey. You were meant to, quote unquote, meander, or however you want to identify that, right? But that was what your journey was supposed to be. If it wasn't, it would have been something different. This was what my journey was supposed to be. Again, otherwise it would have been something different.
Correct. And I just want to point out too, though, that I think it still is necessary for us to, as soon as you can at least, come to understand what your purpose is, what your assignment is, and what that path is for you. Because if you're not careful, you could lose a lot along the way. And that's what's happened to me. And it doesn't always happen because if you partner up with the right person, that person will go with you through those changes and that indecision, that lack of that fogginess of purpose. But if you don't, then of course you can end up losing that partner, losing relationship. Speaking from experience, all that stuff along the way. And so I just want to encourage people who are watching, who are listening, try to figure it out as best as you can, as quickly as you can. That's why the Bible tells us that there's safety in a multitude of counsel. Find somebody that you can talk to get direction, to get instruction, to get encouragement from. And that's why podcasts like this, for example, I think exist, because we're trying to help. We're not just on here talking to each other. We're trying to actually help people
Yeah.
identify who they are and what it is they're here to do.
Yeah.
And so that's why we're asking these questions.
Yeah, I have a
Yeah.
question for you. Do you think that and I'm not speaking just specifically for you, but just in general,
Hmm.
because you mentioned not knowing the questions, not knowing what you don't know, right? So not knowing what questions to ask. Do you think that you could have expedited the process, or people can expedite the process to find their mission or find their purpose?
I think that's difficult for one to do if they don't have the right surrounding. If you're not surrounded with people who are gifted to assist you in assessing your path, I don't think you can expedite it, because
Yeah.
you're just going through life just trying to figure it out. Hey, there's a rock. What do you do? That's cool. What is that?
Yeah.
What's under that rock? Do I pick it up or do I just keep walk by it? I mean, you know what I'm
Right.
saying? You don't
Yeah.
have anybody, giving you the instruction. Hey, man, go pick up that rock and see what's under there. Might be something there for you.
But here's the thing, and this is why I asked the question, because I think that, again, I really honestly believe that everyone is on the path that they're supposed to be on, even though it may not look or feel like the path that they should be on to them. And the reason why I
Hmm.
say that's because you mentioned, having counsel, having people around you to say, hey, look, that's a rock, pick that up or whatever. But I have seen this time and time and time again, where you
Hmm.
do have that guidance and that support. You're not going to get it until you decide to get it. You can have 10 people telling you, do this, don't do this, go here, don't go there. This is why. Pick up the rock, turn the rock over, read the rock. And you might do it, maybe, unless you're just totally obstinate.
Right.
But even so, let's just say you do it, but it still doesn't click. You're doing it just to satisfy them, or just to say,
Yeah.
okay, I did it. But it doesn't click because you are physically not ready to receive that instruction or receive that
Exactly.
guidance, right?
Yeah. You know what? I'm glad that's a great perspective, and I'm glad you mentioned that, because it wasn't until I met Donald Morton and got into the program Remand Project that I was able to go back into my history, into my past, and realize, as I began to do the excavation of my past, that there was a theme, a common theme that ran through my life that I didn't see before.
What was
And
it?
that theme was when I was in fifth grade, or sixth grade, somewhere around there. I had done my first play, and I got the acting bug. I didn't. It was my first time, the first thing I had ever done. And then after, was that elementary school? Then I went off to. I didn't do anything else until I got to high school. But I specifically remember sitting in the counselor's office with mom, and the counselor was asking, "So, what do you want your electives to be?" And I was like, "I don't know. What are my electives? What are my choices?" And she said, "Well, you have theater, you have drama, you have football or athletics, and you have some other things." And I said, "Theater? Okay, I want that." And so for my freshman year, all the way through high school, I was in theater.
Mm-hmm.
And I ended up lettering in theater, did several plays, won some awards and all that kind of stuff. Thought I wanted to be an actor. It turned out that my junior year in high school, my then drama coach, teacher, came to me and told me, "Look, man, I like what you're doing. I see the prospective actor that you could be. I see this gift in you. I really want to help you. I have a lot of partners back in and relationships back in New York. I can help you get into school if you want to do that." And so I went to mom and said, "Mom, oh, you guess what my teacher said? He wanted da 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 da." And she said, "Boy, do you know how many starving artists there are out there?" And right away, immediately killed my
Yeah.
dream. Now that was my
Yeah.
fault. If it was really a dream of mine, I should have held on to it and I should have gone for it, but I didn't.
Yeah. But
Long
you're
story short,
impressionable. I mean, yeah, there's so
long
many
yeah,
things to that. But yes, yes.
long story short, I get to PV. I end up going into agriculture, economics.
Not
I
because
did
you
not
wanted
want
to. I know you
not
didn't.
because
I
I
remember
wanted
mommy
to.
made you like that was. She's like, you're going to
She
school, and this is what you're going for.
This is what I'm going for. And
Yeah.
so I did not want to do it. And I found myself after my freshman year going over to the dean of theater, the drama department. I said, "Look here, man, I want to get into I want to
Yeah.
get into your organization. I want to get into drama. How do I do that?" And he walked me through it. Unfortunately, I think what he said at the time was there were no scholarships available for me to actually be awarded. And I was like, "Okay, well, I already have a scholarship, and I don't know how to go back to my mom and tell her I'm going to leave
Yeah.
the
You don't.
scholarship
You
behind."
don't. That's what the answer is to that. You don't tell your
Right.
mom.
And so I said, I can't do it right now. So
Yeah.
ended up leaving college and coming up to Dallas in 1995, eventually meeting my now ex-wife. But I always remember sitting outside in my car listening to Dr. Tony Evans on the radio. And one day he had a sermon and he was asking, what is it? What is your purpose? What is that you find yourself? What is your purpose? And how do you go into developing your purpose? And I was like, I don't know. But I had to ask myself a question. I heard the Holy Spirit ask me a question. What do you always find yourself going back to? I
Yeah.
said, the stage. I'm always trying to find the act. I'm always trying to act.
Yeah.
But at this time, I'm married and I have 2 children. I'm like, Lord, I can't just up and leave and go. So how can I get back into this? And somehow, I don't remember exactly how I found out, but I found out there was a way to do voiceovers. You remember that?
ORANGEG.
Exactly. And so I found out that one of the ways I could get back into acting was by doing voiceovers, and I could
So
get
cool.
into that by going into radio. So I started my radio career.
That's awesome.
And so my whole point is this: I didn't realize that there were things that were happening in my life that were showing me that this is what you're supposed to be doing, and I did
Yeah.
not see it until somebody came along and said, "This is what you're supposed to be doing."
See, that's what I'm saying, right?
Yeah,
And let me
yeah,
just say this because I'm so proud of you because this being your podcast, you know, when you mentioned being on radio and
hmm
doing the voiceovers, and I thought that was a really cool period of time, and I was like, oh, this is so cool. But this is an extension of that, and no, it's
it
not
is.
a stage per se, but it is a stage. It is a stage.
So to speak.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah. And no, you're not acting, but you are on stage. So
Yeah.
it's very interesting and it is very radio like, right?
Yeah.
But you enjoy
Yeah.
doing that. And that's, I know why. And I understand why you enjoy doing this as well. So,
Yeah. Well, I didn't really enjoy my radio. I didn't.
oh, you
See,
didn't?
I didn't, and the reason is because I'm an introvert. And I know that's hard to believe because I'm a podcast host. How do you be a podcast host and an introvert? But anyway, that's when I'm not doing this. This is where the acting comes in, right? Because I'm able to get on camera and boom, here I am. But on radio, I
But
don't
here's the thing.
talk much.
I was gonna say, I don't think it's acting. I think it's just a different part of your
No, that's why I put it in
personality.
quotations. It's in
Yeah. Yeah.
quotations. I'm not acting.
Yeah. It's
It's
just a
what I'm
different
able to
part of
do
your
when the
personality.
camera's
Yeah.
on.
Sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's my personality.
Yeah.
But it's kind of hard to meld those two. So again, how are you introverted but you're able to do this? I don't know. Just ask God. Anyway, I didn't like radio because when I realized I'm the one that had to come up with the script of everything I needed to say according to this clock, I'm
Oh
like, I
yeah.
don't talk that much. I don't even know what to say. How do I do that? And so I didn't appreciate radio, but I did
Yeah.
like doing voiceovers, and of course I love doing this because now with the experiences that I've had, I'm able to relay it to other people. So
Yeah. No, that's cool.
yeah. So anyway, that's how I got to become a podcast host, and that's why I enjoy doing what I'm doing now. And this is how I eventually found my way, if you will,
Yeah.
going through all that stuff. So I'm grateful for where we are now.
For
So
sure.
getting back to we were talking about how you eventually found your way into nursing at the age of 16.
Hmm.
Yeah, it
Hmm.
really solidified at that age.
Yeah.
And you saw these different things with grandma. She was helping out this older woman, but at some point you decided to, well, I don't want to put the words in your mouth, so let me just ask the question. You eventually left nursing and became an entrepreneur.
Hmm.
So what started to change either internally or externally for you to make that change?
Yeah. And I like to say I pivoted. I pivoted. I think I had been a nurse probably about 10 years. I was working night shift by choice because I've always been a night owl.
Hmm
But what started happening is I became a mom. So I didn't get to put I didn't get have the opportunity to put my kids to bed. Like that's one of the most precious times is to tuck your kids in and read them stories and put them to bed. And I worked 4 nights a week, so I only left 3 nights a week. And
Uh-huh.
so I didn't. It got to a point where I was like, okay, this isn't it. Like I am missing out on, and not only that, not only putting the kids to bed, piece of it, but then like in the morning when I would get off off of work, I worked 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. So in the morning, 7 o'clock. By the time I got home, it was like 8:30. I'm exhausted, but the kids are wide awake, and so I'm
hmm
trying to play with them and be a mom, but I'm falling asleep on them. And even when I
hmm
put Langston, even he said this. He has said Langston's my oldest son, and he has said this several times. He was like, and he said this when he was younger too, but he just reminds me of it ever so often. But he said, I was reading a book to him one night, and he
hmm
said, And it was a book that I've read several times, so he knew the words. Right? He was like, "Mommy, that's not what the book says. Why are you making up words?" Because I'm dozing off. I'm like, blah, 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 blah. I'm just like making up stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, and I remember waking up. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm sorry, baby. And I would finish reading the story, but I was exhausted. And I
Yeah.
thought, this is not fair to me. This is not fair to the kids. And it got to a point where I was like, there's got to be something more. I loved nursing. Right.
Okay.
And like I said, I knew I wanted to be a nurse since I was in the 6th grade or 16. Well, kind of in the 6th grade, but really solidified at 16. And so I still loved nursing, but I didn't love the lifestyle of nursing. And I just remember feeling not as fulfilled as I once did. Even so, in the middle of the night, there's like infomercials, whatever. I thought I was going to go into real estate. I bought this whole real estate course and I never opened it, never went through it. But I was like, I've got to do, I was like, it's got to be something else. But and I never thought I would leave nursing. I just thought I would do something maybe to like subsidize, I guess, my income, so I didn't have to be away from the kids so much. And it wouldn't have worked. It wouldn't have mattered even if I was day shift, because again, you leave at 6 a.m., 5:30 a.m. They're asleep, and by the time you get home, it's 7:38. I put them in the bed. I wouldn't have seen them at all, right? So there wasn't even an option of it shifts. And plus, I'm not a day person. I don't want to get up at 5:30. Never have been a day person. Still not to this day. And so it was a net zero loss for me. I was like, okay, I don't know how this is going to work. Again, I never thought I would pivot out of nursing, but I just remember there was a stirring. I just felt like the stirring inside of me, like there's more for you to do, there's more for you to give. And I didn't know what that looked like. I didn't know what that looked like, but I just knew that there was this stirring inside of me that I just couldn't shake. So then that's when I started my first business, or joined a business. I'll say that I joined a business, and in direct sales. And I loved that. And I did not know how much I was going to love that, because I can make my own hours and I can make my own money, going back to making money. Right. And not that I didn't make great, I made excellent money as a nurse, money as a nurse.
Yeah.
But again, at some point in time, and I remember people were asking me when I decided to pivot out of nursing completely, they were like, are you crazy? Like, why would you leave that stability and that security and that income? And I'm like, this is draining my soul, like really. And so, and this is a point to make. I don't care what it looks like on paper. And I don't care how many naysayers there are. If you have a stirring inside of your heart and you know that God is calling you to do something, you got to honor that call. You have to.
That's good.
Otherwise, it's going to, and again, it don't have to make sense, because it did not make sense on paper for me to, pivot out of nursing. But it did get to a point where my income with my direct sales business was pretty much almost equal to the income of my full-time nursing job, but less hours. And I'm like,
you saw something there.
Right. I'm like, whoa, okay. If I'm working less hours, I'll almost make the same amount. Imagine if I worked full-time over here in my business, and and so that's when that started, the wheel started turning, and that's when I ended up pivoting. And that's why I ended up pivoting, and then I was able to be home with the boys, and which was great. That was great, because that's what I wanted. And I was able to make, still make the money and all of that. And then, but here's something that started that happened as well. Again, that stirring. God is really good at stirring things up, and I had this. It's actually opportunities just started opening up, and that would have not opened up had I not been a nurse. I always say that being a nurse was probably one of the best things I could have ever done, because everything that's kind of flowed from that, it's because I was a nurse. And so anyway, fast forward, I'm in direct sales, and doing really good with that, and top 2% of the company within the first 8 months. I mean, I was doing really, I know, really, really good. And then I had an opportunity to start doing some training, and it was kind of hospital related, but it wasn't patient care. And one thing I didn't mention is, before I pivoted altogether out of the ICU, I ended up training some of the nurses and the doctors on this new electronic medical records, right? And I didn't realize how much I enjoyed teaching and training. And so fast forward, when I got a little stirring again, I was given the opportunity to train and teach in a consulting capacity. And I thought, well, this is fun. This is cool. And so I went on the road, and I was traveling here, there, and everywhere, with different hospitals, training and teaching the nurses and the doctors and all that. And that was really fun. And I made great money as a consultant. You make excellent money. So I was making even better money. I'm like, well, this is pretty cool. And then, and then again, there was a stirring, and I tried to ignore it. So I'm like, ain't no way you're trying to tell me not to do this.
Mm-hmm.
And because again, everything looked great on the outside. I was traveling. I was like, whatever, a platinum elite with Marriott and Hilton. I was, whatever. We went on vacations for free, because I had so many points and all that, cars, all the things, rental cars, all the things. But I felt this tug, and I was still doing both at this time, consulting, and I still have my direct sales business. Both doing well. But I got tired of traveling so much doing the consulting thing. So I kind of slowed down with that. And then I started feeling like this tugging, and I'm like, no.
You said not again.
Not again. I thought we were good here. And when I say I ignored it for probably at least 3 years, maybe 5. And I was like, nah, you're not, nah. I'm like, la, 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 la. My fingers in my ear, like, la, 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 I can't hear you. And God was like, oh, no, you're going to hear me. I'm going to keep tugging. I'm going to keep poking. I'm going to keep pulling until you listen. And I was like, I thought he was, in my limited understanding, right? I thought he was calling me back to nursing. And I'm like, ain't no way. At that point, I'd been away from nursing for probably a good 10 years. I was like, ain't no way you calling me. Probably more than that. Really? 10, 13, it's a long time. At this point, it's been like 20 years almost. And since it has been 20 years. I pivoted out of nursing in 2007. 2007. Yeah, 19 years ago. I know, it's crazy. Anyway, and so I was not trying to hear. I thought he was calling me back to nursing. I'm like, there ain't no way in the world. I've been working for myself all this time. I can't go punch a clock. I just can't. And so, but what he was calling me to was holistic health and helping people in that capacity. I did not know that. Back to health, right? I did not know that. My limited thinking, I thought he was saying nursing, but he was saying health. And I'm like, and that's why I was so resistant. I'm like, ain't no way. So anyway, so finally, I call this my surrender moment. This is probably 3 years of not feeling 100% fulfilled. Things look good on paper, from the outside looking in, things that, looks great, dream life, whatever. But I wasn't fulfilled. And like there was something missing. And again, there was this constant tugging. Bottom line is, I am in town, I was going to the gym, Time Fitness. I pull into the parking lot of Lifetime. And it was in the back of the parking lot. I didn't even park on my regular spot. Because it was just this overwhelming sense of you're going to, like, I'm trying to get your attention. I'm trying to tell you something. And I've been trying to tell you something for 3 years, 3+ years. So finally I pull into like the back of the parking lot and I sit there and I remember putting my hand on the steering wheel, I put the car in park and I was like, okay, God, I surrender. What is it? What do you want me to do? Whatever. Okay, I'm in. Whatever it is, I'm in, because this tugging at my heart is relentless. I didn't want to feel that feeling anymore because I was literally ignoring it. And so then he's like, you're going to help people in their health. You're not going to work for anybody else. You're going to help people in their health. Women that look like you are, high achieving. Everything looks great on the outside. Everyone thinks they have it all together. Everyone thinks they have it all together. And so they don't ask how they're doing this. They assume that they're taking care of their health and all those things.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I can do that.
Wow.
That sounds, that's okay. And so then I was in. And what's so crazy about it is, that's not crazy. This is just how God works. The minute I had that surrender moment, things just started lining up. People just started coming out of nowhere. Charyse, can you help me with this? I don't want to really take any meds anymore, but I have all these issues, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, yes, I can.
Yeah. Wow.
He literally, when I say things started dropping into place, it was almost effortless. And that's how you know you're on the path.
That's how you know.
When things seem to be effortless, not that I didn't do anything, but circumstances, opportunities, people just started showing up. And I'm like, yes.
This is what I describe as, I know the professional world would say, this is your epiphany, or this is your paradigm shift. Okay. This is what I call the be about it moment, right? When you finally have that moment where you realize that this is what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
Okay. You did an excellent job describing exactly how it is that you came to where you are right now, but you also are a podcast host. And I think you address this on at least one of your episodes, because I know I caught one of them.
You mean you don't listen to every single episode, Rock? I'm just kidding.
My gosh.
I'm kidding.
I try. Well, at the beginning, boy, I was listening to a lot of them, and then I started. You know what? Here's something I have to admit. I love that we both do podcasts.
Mm-hmm.
But there's something that you come to realize that even though you love your sibling or you love your parent or you love another person and you appreciate what they do, it doesn't always speak to you.
Yeah.
In the beginning, when I was listening to your podcast, I was like, oh man, this is awesome. And then all of a sudden I started to realize, I don't know what she's talking about.
That is funny. But it's great. But that's wonderful.
Right.
To have that realization.
Yeah. And so, but I learned a lot in the beginning, and I learned how I wanted to host. I learned how I wanted to talk and speak and ask questions and things like that. Learn how to present myself professionally and those kinds of things. But to get back to what you were just saying, because you had your epiphany, you had your paradigm shift. Why do you feel like so many people get stuck even when they're trying?
We trust or lack thereof. Yeah.
Okay.
I think a couple of things. One, we get comfortable, even though we're uncomfortable, even though we may be uncomfortable, but we're okay with being comfortable with what we know versus being potentially uncomfortable in what we don't know. So there's that, which leads me to trust. Because we don't know the whole path or how it's going to turn out, it's fear that keeps us in our, even if we're miserable. Because I was miserable for those last probably 3 to 5 years before I pivoted. Wow. I really was miserable internally.
Okay.
But I was not going to rock the boat. You know, again, that looks crazy. It sounds crazy, looks crazy, whatever. But going back to self-trust and trust in God, which requires faith.
Yes, it does.
And we are really good. So this Be About It podcast, right? We are really good about knowing scripture, right? Faith without works is dead. Because everybody, I don't care how much, how
all on my toes right now.
No, I don't care how into church you are. Even if you're not in church, I bet you everybody knows that scripture. Faith without works is dead, right? And it's one thing to know it. And it's another thing to live it. Yes. And so to your question, why do people get stuck? Because they don't trust and they're unwilling to exercise that faith that all will be well. God is never going to put something in your heart and not give you the way, a path to fulfill it. That's cruel. That's right. And my God is not cruel. Is your God?
No.
He's not. That's not how he works. Right. No. And so having faith that if he put it in you, he will help you see it through. He's going to open up the doors. He's going to open all of that. And it may not be easy. It may or may not be easy. I'm not saying just because you obey what it is that tugging at your heart and surrender, like I had that surrender moment, that it's going to be all easy. Not necessarily. It's probably going to be easier than what you thought it was. It is going to be easier than what you thought it was. But again, it's going to require you to exercise faith, meaning moving, doing, even if you don't know the full path. If you know what step one is, have faith enough to do step one and in faith that he will tell you what step two is once you get there. Exactly. But here's the thing. Once you get there, here's the thing. This is how we all of us get messed up. Our job is to get clear on the what. What is it? What is it that I want? What is it I desire? What is it? It is his job to show us the how.
Come on now. She's preaching, y'all.
But we want to know the how. We're like, I ain't making a move till I know A, B, C, D, all the way to Z. That is, I know.
Kept me paralyzed for decades.
Yes, it keeps so many people paralyzed. And I get it. I get it, particularly, when you're taking care of your family, all the things like I can't afford to. But in everything, I'm not saying up and quit your job and do, go be an actor in New York. I'm not saying that, but there's always gonna be a way. And rarely is it comfortable. It is going to be inconvenient. It is going to be inconvenient.
And it's going to require you to, if you know the saying, burn the candle at both ends. For a period.
For a period of time. And some people aren't willing to. Some people don't feel they have the capacity to. But here's what I know about capacity. You don't know what you can do until you have to do it.
And your capacity expands.
It always expands. Always expands, right? And so I think to your question, it's trust and it's faith. Yeah.
And it's acting on that faith. And again,
that's what I say. Faith without works is dead. You got to. It ain't faith.
Exactly.
It ain't faith.
No.
I mean, it's faith, but again, it doesn't work, and it's biblical. Faith without works is dead.
Yes.
So you got to exit faith. It's a verb. Okay. It's action
Faith
word.
is a action. Yes. So faith in action is what gets you to your next level.
Absolutely.
Having faith is one thing. It's just like my pastor talked about this yesterday. Having belief is one thing. Having faith is another thing. And then having action is another. All those things, first of all, they're not the same.
They're not.
Okay.
No.
But they're all required in order for you to move from one level to the next.
Absolutely.
You have to have belief first,
Mhm.
and then faith, and then take action on that faith. Excuse me. Pardon the interruption. Really hope that you're enjoying this episode, and I'm sure you are. But I have a quick question. Did you know I have a podcast? Oh, that's right. You're watching it right now. So I just wanted to ask that you would please like the video, share it, and if you're watching it on YouTube, please subscribe. I appreciate you. Now, back to the episode. And if you don't do that, then you're just kind of like I was for years, stuck in the water, complacent, and then eventually things begin to fade. Blank, blank.
Yeah. And what'd you say?
I said blank, blank.
Right.
Like the old video game. Blank, blank.
That's funny. That's
Yeah.
funny, but yeah.
So I had one final question, but you really already answered that question. I was going to ask you, what is one simple thing people are overlooking? But I think in the simplest forms, what people most overlook is taking that step, acting out on what they believe. That's what I would say. What would you say would be the one thing that the most simple thing that people overlook?
I would say the fact that if God puts something in your heart, I was going to say you must, because here's the thing, it's not going to go away. He's not going to change his mind. Oh, never mind. No. He ain't going nowhere. He waiting on you.
Yeah.
If it's 3 years, if it's 5 years, if it's 10, if it's 20, he is not going to change his mind.
That's
so right. The quicker you can acknowledge and accept, okay, so this isn't going away. So back to you said one thing that continued, the one through line for you has always been acting. You always come back to acting in some way, shape, or form. And so I think the quicker you get to that, okay, this isn't going away. This is maybe it went away for a little bit, but it's back. And it keeps coming back, right? The quicker you understand, you recognize that and surrender. And say, okay, God, all right, this is clearly something you want me to do. And trust. He's not going to, like I said this before, and I'll say it again, he's not going to give you something. And he's not going to keep bringing it up. He's not going to keep tapping on your shoulder and stirring your heart to be like, just kidding. I was kidding. I didn't really mean it.
Yeah.
No, he knows the plan. You don't know the plan. So it's incumbent upon us to say, okay, all right, I don't know the plan. I trust that you know the plan. That's where trust comes in, right? Faith. That you know the plan. I'm going to do my part. I'm going to do step one. And just getting really clear on, you're not supposed to know all of it. And if you're waiting to know all of it, if you're waiting to know all the details, you're never going to move. You're never going to move.
You're never going to move.
Because that's not how it works.
Again, that's not how it works. And again, I can speak from experience. It does not work that way. And you're talking to... You're talking to a man who rededicated his life to the Lord back in when I was 22, 23 years or 24 years old. And I'm 53. And it took me a long time to finally put action to faith. And knowing the scripture and still not doing it what it says. And so so from what I gather, again, what you're saying, the simplest thing that someone can do to really get going is to identify God has already placed something in your heart to do. He said something. You've known it for a long time. He might have just dropped it into your spirit, but it's something that you know. It's a recurring thing that keeps coming up from time to time. That is what you're called to do. And you need to find, even if you don't know exactly what to do, that it might be time for you to surround yourself with someone who does. It might be time for you to find a coach. It might be time for you to find a pastor. It might be time for you to find your mother or your father, someone who has already walked the path, who has some instruction for you that can help you get on the path that God has for you.
Yeah. So, and I'll just say this. I'm sorry. I just want to interject because it sounds simple, but it's not easy.
Right.
If it was easy, I wouldn't have ignored it for 5 years or whatever. If it was easy, you wouldn't have ignored it for however many years. If it was easy, you would have already done it. So yes, we can say it simply, but it's not always easy.
It's not.
Yeah.
And see, this is why I like our conversation, because even though we both have had experience where we have had the epiphany, it came different for both of us. It came sooner for one of us. But now we both find ourselves doing what God has called us to do.
Yeah.
Mine is slowly taking off. By the way, this could take off a little bit faster if you guys would subscribe and I just thought I'd throw that out there and share this episode. But Charyse, I'm ready. We can land this plane now, and I want to get into really quickly. I just have about 3 more questions left. I want to ask you what you're doing now Because again, I said at the intro that you are a serial entrepreneur. So there are things that you have already started and left and started other things.
And here's the thing: it's not necessarily always because I wanted to. It was like I was called. It was like the next step,
Right.
which is so
Right.
interesting. Yeah.
It's kind of the evolution of your faith, though, your faith walk. You
Yeah.
just keep you keep doing things that God has placed into your heart. But what are you doing right now?
Yeah. Again,
What are you building right now?
very interesting. Very interesting. And I say very interesting because we talked about God putting something in your heart, right? And like your purpose. And
Yes.
that purpose can be executed, if you will, in different ways. And by that I mean, so my purpose, I know, is to heal. I know that.
Okay.
And my purpose is also to teach. I know that.
Okay.
Now, that plays out in different ways. So, to your question, I have Green and Gorgeous, which is my holistic health coaching, where I help people elevate and optimize their health. Particularly, I work with high achieving women who are wanting to reverse their diabetes or pre-diabetes and or their hypertension naturally,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
So that's never going to go away. What's interesting is as I was building that, because remember, God was calling me to that. That was what I was ignoring. He was
Hmm.
calling me to that. I stepped into that. And then guess what happened? Not because I did anything different. I'm building my holistic health coaching business. What
I
does
love your
God
purpose.
start? What does He do? He starts putting nurses and doctors in my space. And they were attending the things that I was doing on the holistic health coaching side. And they started asking me, I love what you're doing. Can you help me build the same thing? And I'm like, yeah, I guess I can. Full circle, full circle. Because remember, 18 years in leadership, right? In direct sales. And what was my job? To help women in that
Build
particular
and
industry,
train.
women train and help them build successful businesses.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
There
so
you go.
what ended up, so full circle, right? And
Full circle.
so
Look at
then
God.
I'm telling you. So then, like I said, nurses, nurse practitioners, physicians, like, I really love what you're doing. Do you coach people? Do you mentor them? How can I build what you're building? I'm like, I
Yeah.
got you. I've done this. I'm doing this. Not a
Yeah.
problem. Let's do this.
Yes.
So
Right.
I still run both businesses concurrently,
Okay.
right? Or yeah, we'll just say concurrently. And
Hmm.
so I am a holistic health coach as well as a business coach for nurses and nurse practitioners who are wanting to step into the holistic health and functional medicine space. That is what I do.
That's what you do.
That's what I do.
And so in
Yeah.
this season that you're in, you're saying that your business is specifically catered to and designed around helping women, nurses specifically, build their business, build their. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yes, on the business side. Yeah, yeah. So I'll do a quick recap. On the health side, I mean,
Okay.
I can't help everyone, but I have a huge passion for women like me, which is successful, high, driven women. I impact high achieving women externally, but they're falling apart internally. And
Got you.
no one
That's
asks
important.
because they think you got it all together because everything looks good on the outside,
Hmm.
right? So that
Yep.
is who I serve on the holistic health side.
Okay.
And then on the business coaching side, let's just say women in healthcare, but primarily nurses and nurse practitioners who are wanting to monetize their brilliance, as I like to call it, particularly
Hmm.
in the holistic health and functional medicine space.
Excellent.
That is that.
Beautiful. What a beautiful, beautiful wrap that was. You actually answered the question about what it actually helps nurses do.
Mm-hmm.
So let's now ask the question, what would it help people do in general?
Business coaching, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I can only speak to how I work as a business coach.
Okay.
And one of the biggest components that I integrate into my business coaching, yes, is strategy. Strategy is
Hmm.
important. Sales, I'm killer at it. And I'm excellent at, teaching the skills of sales, right? So
Hmm.
strategy is my thing. Sales, marketing is my thing. But any business coach can do that. And I'm not here, I was gonna say I'm not here to toot my own horn, but I mean, it is something that, whatever, that I do that not most people
Do do.
is I help them shift their identity.
Okay.
And that's huge because
It is.
when we're trying to create something different than what we are currently experiencing, it requires a different identity. You can't create something again outside of your current lived experience from an old identity. It's not possible,
Correct.
right?
Yeah.
And so what I do is it's called neural identity evolution.
Mm.
It's a whole framework,
Okay.
and I help you really dig deep, clear the cobwebs, figure out what's stopping you from doing what it is that you want to do.
Right. That's
Excavation,
what we use the
excavation.
term we use
And
in
this
admin.
is all at the surface of your nervous system, and this is all subconscious. We don't consciously stop ourselves from doing what it is that we want to do. It's all the subconscious programming that has
Yeah.
been developed since we were 3,
Yeah.
5,
Yeah.
7, that's
6, 7.
running the programs underneath the surface.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
that is a large piece of what I
Yeah.
do, because I can
Good.
give you the picture perfect strategy for you, but
Mm-hmm.
you're not going to execute it. Why? Because all the crap that's running underneath the surface. So
Yeah, we
until we
call it
deal with that,
your operating system,
it
right?
is.
It's your,
It
it's
is
your internal operating
It is your
system, your
internal
iOS.
operating system. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So until you deal with that, it's like, I can get picture perfect strategy and sales and all that. You ain't gonna do it.
Okay. And you're right. That's absolutely necessary. And of course, this being the Be About It podcast, we talk about how to become all that you were created to be and to do. And you just said it perfectly right there. I think that if you don't go through some kind of process, and you have to be led, because it's hard to do yourself,
If you
I
could do it
think you have to
yourself,
be
you would have
led.
done it.
Exactly.
If you
You
could
have
do
to
it
be
yourself, you
led
would
by
have done it.
someone. You
Yeah.
have to be led by someone to go through this process to assist you in excavating your past and excavating the mindset, excavating, reprogramming your iOS
It is.
to help you, yeah, to help you get beyond where you are
Mm-hmm.
into becoming all that God created you to be and to do.
Yeah.
And again, y'all, you need to plug into people like my sister, people like I mentioned him earlier several times, Dr. Donald Morton, other people. It doesn't have to be them, but people like them. But I want you to plug into them because I know them and I know they do well in what they do. These people are, I hate to use the word expert, but they really are expert at what they do.
For sure.
And so I want you to get a hold of them. So, Charyse, how can people find you or connect with what you are doing?
Yeah. Well, since they're listening to the podcast, you're already on a podcast platform. You can simply look for the Charyse Williams Show. That's probably the easiest thing to do. And in all of the show notes, all of my contact information are below in the show notes. My Facebook, my Instagram, all the things. So the Charyse Williams Show on any podcast platform.
All right. So, can they find you on Spotify as well? Yeah, yes, they
Yeah,
can.
absolutely.
So
Yep.
Spotify, YouTube, blah,
All
blah, blah,
of
blah,
all of them.
all the places. It's all spelled the same.
I'll
And
say, yeah.
you can see the spelling right there, y'all. All right. Well, that's going to do it. That was the last question, Charyse. Thank you so much. I really, really enjoyed you.
Me too. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I love you so very much.
This has been great. And I'm so proud of you. And I love you too.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Thank you.
This has been great.
So, again, thank you for doing this with me. If y'all got anything from this, please don't keep it to yourself. Like it, share it, comment, and also subscribe. And go follow Charyse on all of her platforms, just like she said, so that you'll know exactly what she's doing and how to stay connected to her work. Because trust me, all that she does matters, as you can tell. And don't forget, you guys, here on Be About It Podcast, I upload a new episode every single Friday morning at 7 a.m. Central Standard Time. And if you want to be notified when a new episode is uploaded, all you have to do is hit the subscribe button and then the notification bell, and you'll get the notification when I do. And by the way, I don't know exactly when this particular episode will be uploaded, what date anyway. I do know it will be in April. So again, if you want to be notified, you've got to subscribe. But until then, thank you so much for tuning in to Be About It Podcast with yours truly, Baraka Barnes. And all that you've learned today, I just want to remind you, please don't continue just going out there and yap, talking about what you're going to do. It's time for you to stop talking about it and go be about it. Until the next episode, God bless you.